got shot in the head. What was that experience like? And how did you recover? How were you able to recover from that?
So I got shot one time in the head, and the rest, one in the back spine, one in the leg, one in the stomach. Got shot all over. When he shot me, I said, Lord Jesus, please don't let me die. I got a son. And,
How old was that son at the time?
He had just been born. You know what I mean? He was a baby. And he was like, hey, I said, Lord, please don't let me die. I got a son. And he said, hey, turn your head to the left-hand side and let the blood flow out your mouth. I said, who is this talking? Where you at? Where you at? He said, turn your head to the left-hand side, let the blood flow out your mouth. I said, let the blood flow out my mouth. He said, yeah. He said, because your esophagus is swollen and you ain't gonna be able to breathe out your mouth and blood is coming out your mouth. He said, breathe out your nose slowly and turn your head to the left-hand side, let the blood flow out your mouth. I said, I gotta use the bathroom. He said, if you use the bathroom, your feces gonna kill you. He said, cause your guts busted up. I said, where you at? Where you at? And he said, I'm gonna put you back in your body and you're gonna hurt. So I saw people stepping on me. I saw the dude that shot me, he ran to the back alley, got in the car, you know what I mean? And he said, I'm gonna put you back in your body. I said, where I'm at? And he said, I mean, you and me. And when I hit my body, it was like a pain, and I was telling my legs to move, but I couldn't feel my legs. So I turned my head to the left-hand side and let the blood flow out of my mouth, and I stayed calm and breathed out my nose, and then I hold I had to use the bathroom and I hold it. So and I kept letting the blood bleed out my mouth, and they was finna throw a sheet on me, pronounced me dead. They pronounced me dead. So when they got me in the ambulance, and the woman was like, he's still alive, he's still alive, he's still alive. And so one of them hold my stomach, and the other one wrapped my head up, and I woke up. I was at Huntsville Hospital. I stayed in surgery that whole night to the next morning, and they got me out of surgery that evening, and my mouth was wired shut, and I was weighing 230. I dropped from 230 to 160. You know what I mean? I had lost so much blood.
That is very powerful, Brother Lampkin. So you saying that this was not an EMT talking to you. This was not a first responder talking to you. This was a out-of-body experience, a near-death experience, an out-of-body experience. You was able to see the scene and things that was going on.
Yeah.
And so, and you heard, I mean, you and me.
Yeah.
And so we know that there ain't nobody but God.
Yeah.
So now, that's amazing. How did that feel? Like, once you came to, were you ever able to contact or, you know what I'm saying?
Well, see, I had, before I went to the bootlegger house, I had some cocaine mixed with some heroin, and I was snorting it, you know what I mean? And I was buying everybody drinks, you know what I mean? At the time, I was pumping weed, I had money and stuff.
Yeah.
I was buying everybody drinks and stuff, you know what I mean? The dude that shot me, I had told him, I said, look, man, stay away from Paul, me and him beefing.
Was it a fight before the shots?
No, it wasn't no fight or nothing. See, I had cut this dude, you know what I mean? And it was just like some old high crazy stuff that had happened, you know what I mean? And me and him was beefing, and we was shooting it out and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And I told the dude that shot me, I was like, man, stay out the car with dude, because me and him beefing. You know what I mean? I don't want you to get caught in the crossfire.
Yeah.
But see, he had already called dude and told dude that I was over there. So, so I had shook his hand, told him, hey, man, he was like, asked me where my son, Lil Dion, was at, because that's his folks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, he at the crib, you know what I mean? He was like, all right, my nigga, shook my hand, you know what I mean? And when I walked out the door, man, he shot me in the back of my head. At the screen, though. You know what I mean?
So everything to you appeared to be cool, and you even turned your back to him. And so
but
you
see,
got shot.
he was in the back. I had made it all the way to the stream, though, man. He shot me in the back of my head. You know what I mean? And I fell off the steps. He kept on shooting me. When I fell down off the top of the steps. You know what I mean? Hit the ground.
What type of lifestyle had ushered you into ultimately dealing with that moment and that type of situation? Like, how did you get there? I heard you said that you was outside and you had the bag, and so you was getting to the bag, and then you said that you was playing with your nose a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, would that constitute being shot in the back of the head? Like, what? I mean, like, how did you make it to this situation?
God, man. It was nothing but God. But see, I had been running from God for a long time anyway. You know what I mean? Because He was working on me. I had love in my heart for people. I always had love for people, but people didn't love me the way I loved them. I had loyalty. I was loyal to people. You know what I mean? I'm talking about loyal, do anything for them. You know what I mean? But see, they weren't for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But see, I didn't realize that because I wanted to be down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, from my understanding from there, you know, sometimes we got to go through stuff to understand what to be and how to be in life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, then, you know, after that incident, you know, I didn't press charges on it. You know what I mean? I didn't go to court on it.
But you from that era, though.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I didn't do that. You know what I mean? And
did you seek vengeance? I have to ask you.
I did for a minute, but I had everybody in the streets scared of me. You know what I mean? So, you know, when you doing stuff like that, it's coming. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So expect it. You know what I mean? When you think you can't be touched, you can be touched.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, God had grace on me, man. You know, and, you know, for real, because you know, then I turned around and after all this stuff had happened, man, you know, prior to another time, me and my cousin was together. We finna sell this dude a couple of keys of cocaine, and they came in, man, and they was acting cool and stuff, man, and you know, and they upped the pistol on my cousin. When they upped the pistol on him,
you went crazy.
I went crazy, but he knocked the dude out and grabbed the pistol. The other dude shot me in my stomach. Then he shot me in my leg. So I took the pistol from him, and then I started beating him with the pistol, and I was finna shoot him in his head. And my cousin was like, don't shoot him because we can't explain this. We got all this dope and money in here, you know what I mean? And this girl on Section 8, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we stripped him naked and beat him to death and made him drive back to Humphrey. So I ended up, he took my cell phone and told me, hey man, you gotta drive yourself to the hospital. You know what I mean? So I drove myself to the hospital. I got to the hospital, Bo Beast and her kids was in there.
Yeah.
I walk in the door, they looking at me, blood coming out my stomach like water. And I'm telling them I got shot, and they hollering and going on, you know. But I had got shot so many times, you know.
It was a normal thing.
It was like, I know it didn't hurt nothing because I could still function and move, you know what I mean? So it had went in my stomach right here because I had his head like this, and he shot me right here. He shot me right here, and he come up through here and blowed that out, you know what I mean? So, you know, and you know, I lived through that, you know. And
so after that experience, Deon, was you still outside? Was God